Hey, we're Gerald and Tabby, married over 22 years.
And still choosing each other on purpose.
We're definitely better together.
We've been through addictions, infidelity, open adoption, financial crisis, and each other.
She's the drama.
And he's the calm most of the time.
We're not experts, and we're definitely not licensed therapists. But we've learned a lot the hard way, and we're not afraid to talk about it.
For too long, we walked through our struggles alone, but that's not how God designed marriage or life.
This is where we get real about marriage, faith, and the messy stuff no one warns you about after you say, I do.
We call out the bad advice, the fake perfection, and the things that just don't work out in real life. So if you want polished, we're not it.
But if you're looking for honest, then welcome. This is I Still Do.
Well, today was a good day in church. Sermon series for the past couple of weeks has really been hitting home, I think. Today was especially about waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I have said multiple times that we're like professional waiters.
And loneliness in the waiting.
Yeah. And I feel like we've experienced a lot of that. So I feel like this sermon today was pretty timely because it kind of ties into what we were going to be talking about today.
Well, I think last week when we talked about porn in the marriage, hitting all that, that's loneliness in the marriage. A lot of people are lonely, are silently battling with that right now.
Yeah, it's an isolating problem because people don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a place where you feel really lonely.
So I thought it was, when we're talking today, just natural to go into infertility, because that was kind of talked about briefly today, and which hits on some of our story, where it's stacked with, hey, we're dealing with internet pornography, we're dealing with infertility, we're dealing with finding a church, and all these things, and all these
Coming
kids
out
at
of
our
a
house.
season of drugs and alcohol and infidelity, and into a season of we're walking together as Christians, right? But again, that just doesn't take away any issues and problems that we're going to face. But now we have the Lord, right, to walk with this together. It's a lot. We went through a lot in a really short amount of time, if you think about it.
So that's where, let's talk about the struggle with infertility, and then going from there.
Yeah, so while we're working through the pornography issue and investing in teenagers, we're also longing for a family of our own, right? So we're in a season of waiting, and I feel like we're being tested in every aspect of our relationship, our faith, our marriage, and kind of even the idea of hope, because we're investing in these teenagers. Some of these teenagers are having children, right? And we're investing in their children that they're having. And it's not happening for us. So going back, after we were married, we thought, we'll wait a year or two before we start trying to have kids.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And when we moved to Groesbeck, I think is when I decided to go off the birth control pill. And we were just going to start our family, or so we thought. So that didn't happen. Month after month, there was no positive pregnancy test. I think we tried to go about it really organically, like if it happens, it happens, and we're going to be fine. I don't think either one of us expected infertility to be a part of our story.
Right, yeah.
So I think we talked about in one of the episodes when my dad had that sex talk with us or whatever, they also talked about like protection and things like that. And I think that's when I decided to go on birth control. I think that was the biggest mistake of my life. I think it totally ruined my hormones. And because when I went off birth control, when you and I decided like, hey, we'll go off birth control, and if we have a baby, we have a baby, you know, like it's exciting, but we're not like in a rush.
Right.
We did not realize that it would probably take 7 years to become parents after that, because we became parents 9 years after being married. I don't think any of that time was wasted. However, it doesn't mean it wasn't like painful in those moments.
Yeah.
So when I went off the birth control pill, actually my cycle never came back. So we actually thought we were pregnant that first month because I never got a cycle again. And that led to every single month being so excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have a cycle. I'm pregnant. And I think my mind was playing tricks on me multiple times thinking I had all these symptoms when I didn't. And so at some point, we go to a doctor in Waco, and he just does a regular exam. And then he's like, well, y'all have been trying for a good 6 months and it hasn't happened. Let me just give you some Clomid. And I'm like, we're like, oh, okay. I take 1 round of Clomid, not even knowing really what it is. He said it was just like something super simple a lot of people take and have a lot of success on. And to me, it just made me crazy. I feel like it made me up and down, moody, and then my face also felt, and my skin felt like sandpaper. It was a very odd side effect. Still not having a cycle at this time. Still trying to figure out like what's going on. I don't know. It was just a very weird thing. So then we had discussed just on that round of Clomid, which is just basically just a pill. It's not an invasive fertility treatment at all. But the way my body responded to it, or the lack of response, I think that's when you and I had a conversation of like, do we want to continue with fertility treatments?
Well, it was the money too. You start looking at how much money we're going to be possibly spending. At that time, we did not have disposable income.
Oh no, not at all. You were concerned about my body though. You were like
very concerned.
Yeah.
I've always been a little concerned. That comes from some past trauma with my family, but with medicine, it's in medical doctors and stuff. So I was very concerned about doing something with your body. So therefore, in those days, I just didn't understand it.
Right.
So.
And I think it was just overwhelming for the both of us. And so we were like, well, what about adoption? I think I brought it up because I'm adopted by my dad. So I knew biology didn't matter. And I had that perfect example. I think you were starting to see that example of the way my dad loved me and my sister unconditionally.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what about adoption? And I think you were like, yeah. And part of our reasoning for adoption was because, like, if we were going to spend the money to become parents, adoption was a sure thing, whereas infertility is not. You could spend all that money and still end up.
We were still on the fence then about it, but we were both on board with it. Of course, it wasn't something we just nixed right off the bat.
What, adoption?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't.
What we did nix off the bat was fertility treatments.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think that just went out the door quick.
Yeah, because my body was already just going through weird stuff with PCOS that was undiagnosed at this time. Doctors didn't really seem to care what I was going through. And I don't know, it was just kind of weird time.
Yeah.
So we start praying about adoption, and then we had these friends come to us, or we came to our friends, be like, hey, just want to let you know, we're kind of praying about adoption. Cause
it was some friends we were doing ministry with, too.
Yeah, and so mind you, we had the question all the time, when are you going to be parents? And we would always just be like, I don't know. In
we were
God's
in our 30s.
timing, like, I wasn't in my 30s.
Well, okay, I'm older. But
yeah.
But we were getting older, so therefore.
Yes, and we had been married a long time.
Yes.
So people were like, okay, you're like at the 6-year mark, you're at the 7-year mark, you're at the 8-year mark. When are you going to have?
Other people's time frame was starting to give us stress.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I would say parents.
And how true that is, just with talking about this with God's timing. It's like, other people's timing really interrupts that sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's just like such a common thing that people ask young married couples, when are you going to have a baby? Baby's next. And it's like, while that comment is so innocent and sweet, it's painful for a lot of people because you don't know the silent infertility struggle that's going on.
Yeah.
However, I wasn't really silent about it. I'm a very transparent vocal person, so I just be like, hey, we're struggling. So I don't really know.
But it's almost seemed like other people were more concerned or more, I don't know what the word is, but because at the end of the night, even when we'd have some tough conversations, like at an event or something like that, or just someone asked us at a football game or something, at the end of the night, we were always like, well, we're fine.
Yeah.
We don't feel rushed or anything. But it just seemed like it started to be almost like a stigma. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd, but
yeah,
I don't know. That's hard to explain, I guess.
And so we had asked our friends to pray with us about maybe adoption.
Yeah.
And then like a couple months later, that couple came to us and were like, hey, we actually have some friends that are pregnant and wanting to place the baby for adoption. And I'm like, a married couple? Like, you have friends that are married? And they were like, yeah, so funny story. She actually thought she was in menopause. They're ready to become grandparents, not parents again. So they actually want to place this child for adoption and actually play a grandparent role.
Yeah.
We were like, well, that sounds amazing. And it was kind of our first look at open adoption, I think, because they wanted to play a grandparent role. And so we were like, sure, let's do it. And so we were ready to meet them and talk to them. And we had communicated with them over emails, and they were having a little girl, which we were really excited about. Like, we were really thinking.
Well, it's before we even had any training in open adoption.
Oh, we knew nothing about. Yeah, this was just we hadn't gone to an agency. We hadn't even thought about an agency. I mean, this was so, like, we had just mentioned adoption because we had prayed about it. We thought that's what God was wanting us to do. And so there was nothing formal to this at all. I now realize why there is formal agencies to help you navigate that. So we really thought, like, okay, this is it. We're fixing to become parents in the next couple of months. And one day, out of the blue, we get an email from the couple's attorney. And there was like 4 or 5 other couples on that email. And they say in the email, we've got it narrowed down. Now, it's blind CC. We couldn't see, but they said there was multiple couples on the email. And they've got it narrowed down. And basically, the couple that can come up with $35,000 this week is going to be the couple.
We had to show proof that we had $35,000.
Yeah, we were like,
liquid cash.
What? Like, we don't have that kind of money. This was never discussed before. I thought they were really loving us as people and thought we would be great parents. So it was blindsiding, honestly.
Yes.
From a couple.
It left a very sour taste in our mouth about adoption.
Yeah, and honestly, the couple that was placing, because they were claiming to be Christians and they wanted this daughter in this loving home. Not that they're not Christians, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
The way it was handled was not Christian, in my opinion. Like, there was not clear communication. We had zero clue. I'm talking zero, that there were other couples even in the mix of this. Even our friends that brought us were shocked. Like, the ones that made this connection. Like, we were all shocked by that email.
Yeah.
And so we just emailed and, like, gracefully bowed out.
Yeah.
So, but during this time, we had started going to a brand new church in Waco. Because while we were mentoring the teenagers and I was coaching cheer, we were often in Waco at, like, volleyball games and basketball games and stuff like that. And we were in between churches because we had left one of the churches, local churches there, and we were, with the youth that we were doing at our house, but we actually didn't have a home church.
Yeah.
And so we were at, a volleyball game one night?
Yeah, volleyball game, and we were because we would shop at H-E-B in Waco and then drive back to Groesbeck.
Yeah.
Because you could, it's a big store. So it was like 45 miles from Groesbeck, and we were in town. And we went to that grocery store, and when we were going to Antioch, we would just kind of sleep in the back door, sit in the back row, and then leave. We would visit in and out.
Yeah, we'd gone a couple of times to Antioch Community Church.
We just never really committed to going there every Sunday because obviously
it was 45 minutes away, right?
Yeah.
And we really loved the church. Like, it was a great church, but we just didn't commit to it, and we were just in between.
And so there was a few things that happened, like in several weeks time frame, that led us to kind of start going to Antioch. And the first thing was we were having that volleyball game, and we were shopping. We'd split up, went to the grocery store.
We at the end of the volleyball game, we were like, hey, we need to do an H-E-B run really quick. But it's late, and we want to get home because we have an early morning.
Yep.
And you were like, let's split up. You go get these things in the store. I'll get these things, and we'll meet in the bread aisle.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. And so I had split off to one side, you split, and then I was coming up on the bread aisle because that's where we were going to land. And then these two young guys that were in college, they were probably late teens, early 20s, and they're walking by me. First they walk by me, and then they walk by me again, and then I start walking around the aisles, and I noticed they're just following me. And then so I get to the other aisle finally, and I just kind of turn around. I was like, hey, what's up, guys? What are y'all doing? Are y'all following me? And they're like, oh, yeah, and they start stuttering over their words. Like, we're with a local outreach ministry that said something like that, and we're praying about people with eye problems. And at that time I wore glasses all the time, and they said, and we just want to pray for you for your eye. Do you have eye issues? And I was like, well, I don't have like typical eye issues. I have like muscle issues, lazy eye basically. And so therefore I wear these glasses that help me with that. And they were like, well, okay, can we pray over you? And I'm like, I guess so. Like, again, I'm still fairly new to the Christian game. So therefore a lot of this was still new, like pray over me in public in H-E-B. Like, that's a little odd, but let's do that. And I'm standing there, and they take their sweaty palms and just put them on my forehead, and one like put it around my face. It was just a really intimate thing, these two guys, and one was taller than me, so it was kind of odd. But and they're praying over me and praying over my eyes, and you come around the other side of the aisle and see this going down.
I come around the aisle, and I see you huddled with two random people that I don't know in an aisle, and I'm like walking up to it very hesitantly, and then when I get there I realize they're praying, so I just join in. I'm like, okay.
We find out after they're done praying, they're with Antioch Community Church, and they're part of their training school, discipleship school, and therefore this was part of their schooling, like go out and start praying for, like put everything in action. So didn't think about it again, just kind of left the store. I was like, that was really weird. Okay, when it just moved on.
Well, I had asked you, I'm like, what were they praying over you? Because I came in at the very tail end, so I didn't have a prayer. I was just like bowed my head with them at the end, but they were ending at this point. So he was like, I think they prayed for my eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what did they say to you? And he was like, well, they came in saying that they wanted to pray for someone with eye problems, but it wasn't necessarily a vision thing.
Right.
And you were like, oh, well, yeah, I'm wearing glasses, but it's not for a vision. I have prism lenses, which helps one of my muscles in my eyes stay focused, because he's always had this problem, and he's always been able to control it. But his eye doctor said, when you hit about 30, you're probably going to start having...
Yeah, and I started to have those
muscle issues. So, and that's what happened. So he got prism lenses, which are very expensive glasses. They're not, they're very expensive prescription.
Well, over the next few days, literally the next few days, I start getting these massive headaches. And I'm a hypochondriac sometimes. And I start thinking, oh, I have brain cancer. Or like, something's wrong. Down. I go to the extreme sitting there.
Yeah.
And...
no, you call me and you're like, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, I've been having headaches. I think I have a brain tumor. And I'm like, Gerald, calm down. Do you think it could be your glasses? And he's like, what? And I'm like, You literally just got prayed for healing for your eyes. Why don't we go to the first step and go to the eye doctor instead of jumping to brain cancer?
Well, and also,
it's just funny.
Yeah, and I didn't really.
He didn't really think that, but you were just being dramatic.
No, I mean,
right?
I did think that.
Oh,
that's what I think. So I always go to the extreme of things.
Oh, for sure.
So, but what I was saying is, I just didn't think about healing that way.
Yeah.
You know, because. Yeah, you can get into the healing talk. That's the whole thing. For me, it just didn't really resonate. Oh, that would be maybe a problem.
That just wasn't your first thought.
Yeah,
but it was mine. I was like, actually, I mean, you literally just got prayed for, so I'm like, you probably were healed. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. So I set a doctor's appointment or an eye doctor's appointment and go to the eye doctor and get my checkup. And he hands me a little sheet of paper. He said, here's your adjustments or whatever like that. And I go up to the lady and she goes, huh. I was like, what's wrong? She goes, well, this is kind of just a basic reading glass. Like, you could just buy these somewhere else. You don't have to buy them here. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And it was like a really low grade. And so she said, let me go check with the doctor. That's really odd that you would just go from these
prism
glasses
lenses.
to these.
Yeah.
And
she's
so
like, that doesn't really happen. You don't really get rid of prism lenses.
Yeah. And so she goes back and asks the doctor. The doctor said, well, come back in here real quick. Let's do it one more time. Maybe something was off. So I do it all over again, and he goes, well, he said, I don't know. He said, you can control your eyes now, and I don't see a reason why you would need these prism glasses. And I'm sitting there like, and he said, do you want this prescription? I was like, no. I was like, I don't want it all then. And left and called Tab immediately and was just telling you like, hey, you're not going to believe this. They said I don't need my glasses anymore. And then...
And I was like, oh, I absolutely believe it.
Yeah.
I was like, you were healed in the middle of HEB. That's amazing. And then we started talking, and I said, do you think this is a sign from God that we need to go to Antioch?
Yeah.
That's the church we need to be at?
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we started going
going to Antioch, driving on Sundays, and then
Every Sunday.
Shortly after that, that's whenever we met Fred Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't know him really well at that time, but he had given a sermon on pornography. It was the first time I'd heard anybody speak and make a series about pornography. So that
it
was
might
really...
have been that Sunday we decided to go back to Antioch.
Yeah,
like,
it was
very,
impactful.
like, God was speaking to us, for sure.
And then that's kind of where all this adoption and stuff is stirring in us.
Right.
And we take that, after that happens with that couple.
Yeah, we were actually pretty upset. More angry and frustrated at the way that email came. The process, we were like, what in the world? And so then we actually were praying together, saying like, okay, God, we thought we heard you say you wanted us to adopt. Clearly you don't.
We did it on that Saturday before church.
Yeah, on that Saturday, because we got that email on a Friday. We were so irritated that whole weekend and just kind of disappointed and discouraged. And so we were like, okay, God, if you want us to adopt, then we need like a real sign, like a physical sign, because we are so confused with this infertility process. We still don't know what's going on with me. I don't even have a diagnosis of PCOS yet. Like, we cannot figure out what's going on. Something's clearly going on with me because I'm not having cycles and stuff. So then we're like, we need a sign for Emil. So we pray that Saturday night. We go to church the next morning, and it just so happens to be Orphan Sunday, which is in November every year. And we walk in, and it is nothing but tables full of adoption agencies.
Like, foster care.
Adoption. So we go straight to the Generations Adoptions table, and we put our name down for information. And we're like, we want to know more about this, because we were like, if that's the most clear sign you could ever get in your life.
Well, actually, no, back up, because we didn't do that. We went into the sermon first, because that lady was giving the sermon. I can't think of her name now, and she was talking about all the kids available just in McLennan County, and all the kids available in Texas for adoption and foster care. And then after we heard that, we came out.
Oh yeah, we came out, and the tables were set
because
up.
we were like, they were already set up when we get it, but what I'm saying is, like, we heard that sermon and that kind of solidified it.
Oh, that's right. We saw them set up, so we looked at each other. We're like, what are all these adoption tables like set up for? Then we go in and hear the sermon.
Right.
And she was actually talking about how she was running on a treadmill every day, going through an infertility issue, and her treadmill window, like where she would run, faced an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
Was that Dorothy Abshire? What was her name?
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyways, her story was just so, it was just God was completely speaking to us, right? So we walk in, we see the adoption tables. The whole sermon is about adoption. And then we come back out and we sign up immediately for the local, because we both felt.
We signed up for everything, interest meeting, everything. Like we were already.
At Generations, we were like, we're on board. This is what we want to do, because we literally prayed for this sign last night. And one thing early on that Gerald and I had decided was we did not want to do foster care.
Right.
I'm way too empathetic for that. And foster care, their first goal is reconciliation with the family, and that's beautiful. However, I knew that we could not handle that. We wanted also to have an agency where the expectant mother, the birth mother, would make the choice and choose the family.
Right.
We felt that was very important. So we signed up, and then I think they called us the next week.
We went to an interest meeting the following week.
Yeah,
I mean, it started moving very fast.
Yeah.
Because I remember I had to take off work to get to Waco and stuff. And we actually mentioned it to our group of teenagers, the group, on Wednesday night too, and we prayed about it. I remember us just going through that process. But that started the process of, and then we went through the kind of the interview process of understanding, like, what type of adoption do you want? Closed, open, semi-open, all this stuff we never even kind of understood.
Yeah, we didn't even realize. We had no clue.
So the open adoption was really hitting us, because that we, in our interest meeting, that one girl had come in that was part of an open adoption, one could come in part of a closed adoption. And just seeing the radical difference of them at least knowing who their family was and having that freedom to know who their family is and know their heritage and have some sort of relationship, whatever they wanted in that relationship, kind of hit us hard, because we felt like really early on that we would probably not be adopting white babies, because that's what Generations told us immediately, that, you know, sadly, a lot of people mark down, I just want white babies if they're a white couple, because that is a challenge that comes with it. And if you're not ready to take on that challenge,
if you're never ready to take on the challenge, don't.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing, it's totally. We want to say it's totally okay if you're a white couple and you only feel comfortable raising white babies, because that's what you should be doing. Because raising kids of another race is has a lot of challenges, and you need to be ready to face those. You need to have the strength to do so, and you need to be the right ones to stand up for what's right for your children and the things that you will face. And that was hard. That checklist was hard. There's a checklist. We were just recently at
now they're called Nightlight.
Yeah, Nightlight Adoptions Gala, their fundraiser that they do every year. And one of the couples that stood up there and spoke, Shane and Casey Pruitt, talked about that checklist. And now that checklist is like literally every question under the sun, like the race, that we couldn't choose gender. That's one thing we couldn't choose.
Yeah.
But race, drug and alcohol usage with the expectant mother, would you be open to special needs, and all the things. So when we came to that race issue, we were like, we have to be open to any race. It feels
our house was full of Black and Hispanic kids.
Yeah, there was no
and white
way
kids, so
that we could just be like white babies only. That didn't even feel natural to us, to be quite honest. And honestly, God truly does go before you, because majority of the kids in our home on Wednesday nights were Black and brown. When I met Gerald, I was working at a school district and an after school care program, and I was the only white person on that campus. It was all Black and brown, including the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the director. I mean, I was literally the only white girl there. And I just loved that community. I was so welcomed. It was just, I feel like God was already preparing in me before I even knew at 18 years old
Right.
that I would be a mother to black children one day. So we did not specify a race.
Well, and then we had the teenagers prepared us a lot, just because that's a lot of stuff we haven't really talked about, but just going through, you know, them being stereotyped and
Well,
we
and
may
experiencing racism
Yeah.
and bullying and
obviously we weren't on the forefront of it in front of them, but just kind of learning from them that this is a systemic problem still, that there is still a stereotype and that's carried on, and even like when I was in high school, there was two situations that stood out to me because I had a man named Sam Clark that would come into the convenience store that worked with me, and he was a black man, and he would educate me so much on race in my small little town of Caldwell, and just how racist things were. And I didn't really, and I remember him, it was almost like an education I got every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. because he'd come in and drink coffee. And he would just kind of educate me on little things, and my eyes started being open on this. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've never noticed that. I never knew that. And then there was a time whenever I was hanging out. So I played basketball, so naturally there's a lot of more black people who play basketball. And so I was hanging out with some kids, and then we were all going to go to a party. Obviously not doing anything good, but we're all going to a party. And then it was at a white guy's house, and then he asked me for these kids not to be there. And
Yeah,
I
'cause
was
they were
like,
black.
and then I said, it was a moment that almost stood in time. It still stands in time right now for me, because it was a
Right.
moment where I was like, that's not right, and I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm going with them.
I'm
Now, we
gonna
didn't do
leave.
anything better,
Yeah.
but still, it was the fact that you're saying they can't come over there and they're my friends,
Yeah.
but now I've got to, like,
all because they're black.
yeah,
It's crazy.
and so that really, that was my
Yeah.
sophomore, junior year, all that happened, and then, so those little things kind of stood out, and then whenever I got into the workforce, working with Janice and, the night staff, which we had, black and Hispanics that worked with me. So therefore I was learning a lot of stuff. I mean, it was like God was putting it in the forefront of me. Janice was in
100%.
front of me, just explaining things to me, and almost like educating me all through the process. Then getting to Grow Spec, sitting with these kids, understanding it from their standpoint, talking with some of their parents, understanding what they're going
But
through.
also seeing it in the school and the workplace
Yes.
there, we got to see, we had a bird's eye view that was not pretty.
And then you get into more complex issues we're dealing with immigration and all this stuff like this. Even then, as complicated as today, it was complicated then. And so it just felt very natural to be like, okay, we're going to go down this path. And this is just not going, this is going to be our path.
Yeah. And so we were just like prepared to be raising children of color. And my whole friend group growing up in school is super, like a major variety.
Well, you grew up in a big town,
Yeah,
too.
I know. I grew up in Round Rock outside of Austin. So to me, it was like never really an issue because my whole friend group was just majorly diverse. I dated Hispanic guys, black guys, white guys. My best friend was Korean. Like it was just super diverse. So, and when I got to that school that I worked at in Houston that was all black and Hispanic, I actually got there because no one was willing to work there. I was at an after-school program, and they were saying that this job position became available at this school, and I was like, oh, I'll take it. And they were like, no, ma'am. And I'm like, why? And they were like, well, it's an all-black school, maybe some Hispanics, and you're white. And I was like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? That's weird to say that. And they were like, well, I just don't know that you'd feel comfortable there. And I'm like, it's weird that no one else would. What? That's crazy. And I'm like, well, I'm going. And they were like, I don't feel safe putting you there. And I'm like, that's crazy that you're going to tell me that I'm not going to be safe with black elementary school students. Come on. And I said, well, I don't care what you think, and I'm going to. That job ended up being one of my most favorite jobs of all time. I learned so much about the community there and how they care for each other. It was just great. So, all that to say that God was already preparing us, unbeknownst to us,
Yeah.
that we would be parents to children of color. Now, we start this adoption process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our story is very unusual. We're actually chosen like 5 times
Mm-hmm.
before Zayden's birth mother chooses us. And they're all in different like circumstances. It's so weird. So then
Yeah.
everyone around Grosbeck who loves us is now so excited that we're adopting, right? We also get weird comments like, well, now that you chose to adopt, you're probably going to get pregnant, which is so roll my eyes. Don't do that to people, by the way.
Or
Because
you'll have your own children.
because
Yeah.
once you adopt, then you'll start having your own children. And
I'm like,
I would correct people on that. I'd be like,
oh,
first of
this is our
all,
child.
these are going to be our own children. That is such a weird thing to say. Don't say that either. It's so, I know the intent is good, but that impact is so yucky. So
It's like anything. You just have to educate people.
yeah, definitely, and we're not afraid to do that. So, so people around Grosbeck are excited for us and hearing that we're wanting to adopt. So naturally, people are like telling us, "Oh, I heard about this person. I heard about this person." So we had 3 matches with 3 different people, not at the same time. The first match was a couple that we met with. We took them bowling, all the things, like met them and just started speaking into their
So
lives.
back up, we selected an open adoption. We were doing open adoption.
Yeah.
So therefore, open adoption. You might want to explain what open adoption is. Just
Okay,
for
so
some
we
people.
wanted a fully open adoption,
Mm-hmm.
which means the birth family and biological family is involved. So for us, we were going to allow the biological family to kind of say what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times in an open adoption, it's just communication via phone and email and maybe a once a year
Mm-hmm.
visit. We were open to whatever. So because we were open to open adoption, this first little couple that we met, they were very young, like 14, 15 maybe.
Yeah, there we go.
And they were really excited and like, yeah, we're going to place. They were an interracial couple.
Mm-hmm.
So parents were just kind of not on board with the whole interracial couple and them having this baby being so young. So adoption was the option.
Yeah.
Well, we get to know this couple. We really like them. We're thinking we're going to adopt this baby. And then she chooses to parent. So that was sad for us. But also, I want you to know that every time this happened to Gerald and I, while we were disappointed, we were never angry or upset, because the last thing we want is for a mother to feel forced to place or to feel like they shouldn't parent their child. If a mother wants to parent their child, that's exactly what she should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to stand in the way of that. Every couple we always met with, we told that to. We never forced anyone. We were like, we want this decision to be yours and yours alone. So please don't ever take our feelings into consideration when it comes to whether or not you're going to parent. Because quite frankly, our feelings don't matter at that point. They just don't. So she chose to parent. So happy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Sad for us, but we were like, that's okay. And the way Gerald and I actually looked at it is like, well, maybe we're the only ones truly praying for them at the time, for God's will to be done, not ours,
Yeah.
not their parents' parents. You know what I mean? Like, not like what God wants to be done. And so that happened a couple more times to us.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it started to get to a point when it would happen, I knew in advance, because God started speaking to me. The first time I didn't realize it because it had never happened before. But I would start getting a very weak feeling in my legs and like this straining, cramping feeling in my legs, like a really weak feeling. So the second time it happened, I told Gerald, I said, remember that weak feeling I got in my legs the first time before that one mother, expectant mother, told us that she was going to parent? I was like, I have that feeling in my legs again. And we were like, okay. Next day,
Yeah.
we get the notice they're going to parent. Okay.
You talking about the fourth one?
No, not the fourth one. That was the second one.
Oh.
And I kind of had a feeling because our text communication was
Right.
starting to dwindle. And this is during the time I'm actually getting diagnosed with PCOS.
Right.
So it was a lot, like at once. And so I was like, okay, we'll tell our family again that never mind. She's choosing to parent. Totally valid, totally fine. The third one, I don't remember
the third
too
one.
much.
At that point, I think we were just like,
I think
okay.
we were just like, oh my gosh. So the fourth one, actually, I guess this would be the fifth one because the first one that we count was that weird interaction with the emails, that the very first process. So
the fifth one hurt.
the fourth one, Zayden's our fifth. It's so confusing.
Zayden's technically our sixth.
Yeah.
So the fifth one
Was the worst.
hit because we were packed going to Abilene or
Amarillo.
We were going to Amarillo, and everything was packed. You had went to bed early. It's a Sunday. I had already called the bank. It's like, hey, I'm not going to be in this week, and I'm just sitting there playing video games, just kind of like,
Yeah, this is
this
is Christmas break, by the way.
Yeah, can't sleep. I'm just like, okay, we're headed out. We're picking up our child tomorrow. That is
we're going
crazy
to Amarillo
thought.
to pick up our child tomorrow.
And then
that
it's
night before bed.
between 10 and 11, our agent, or works, what do they call them? Social worker? Not social worker, but...
Yeah, but remember I got that feeling in my legs, and you were like, please don't tell me that.
Yeah,
and I was so anxious that I had to actually take melatonin to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I was like, surely this is not happening again. And you're like, no. We're praying like this isn't going to happen again. We're literally leaving tomorrow to go get this little girl.
Literally bags are next to the door. And then I can't remember who our agent is at that time, calls us and says, hey.
I think it was Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy said, hey, birth father stepped in. Very unusual situation.
Birth father and his mother.
And his mother stepped in, and they're going to parent. And again, like Tab said, it's a mixed emotion because you're super happy that someone has stepped up to care for this child and parent this child, but also you're also super defeated because you're like, okay, for me, for the man side of it, or the husband side of it, father side of it, is that now I've got to tell my wife yet again she's not going to be a mother, and I've got to tell her this all over again. And I knew this one was going to hit hard because we'd already been through it. And I think I let you sleep, and I wake you up real early in the morning, and I say, hey, we're not going to Abilene. And then...
That one hit me the hardest. That one, I weeped.
Yeah. That was a tough one.
Yeah. Because I don't really know why I'm getting emotional now. I guess
It's just the moment. The moment hit so hard.
Also, I was not in a good place at that time.
Yeah.
All these, while I said we were like so happy for the mothers to choose to parent every single time, I was getting more and more anxiety. I was becoming an agoraphobic at this time, which means I was not wanting to go in public anymore. I was only finding comfort in my home, and my heart was racing all the time. I'm also so tired on this infertility journey, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. So I'm shortly after this, actually, or during this time, my cycle did start back up, and it was bad.
Yeah.
And it was weeks upon weeks upon weeks. So I'm dealing with this infertility. We've already had 5 failed placements right? All within a span of a year. Like, very back to back. Like, we're being chosen around the clock because everyone just loves our profile, but they're choosing to parent. And all the other ones we knew with like 2 to 3 months in advance. This last one was like less than 24 hours, right? So that one, like, and then we're also helping these teenagers who are also young parents, and they're like, my whole world, I was carrying too much or trying to carry too much on my own. I was not going to God. I was in a very dark, anxious place.
And during that week, because we took a whole week, I still took the week off because
I didn't ever go back to work.
No, that was the last time you went back to work.
That's why I left Groesbeck High School, because I couldn't function.
I got very concerned for you.
Yeah.
I actually called Kathy. Me and Kathy had our own conversation about this, and she was just like, "Hey, let's take a break.
Yeah.
Let's take a break."
She's like,
from
this is
whole
very
process.
unusual. So anyone going through the adoption process, please know this is not normal.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't want to scare anybody.
But I'll say this, going back to the loneliness thing, without generations and without that community they tied us into, I don't know how we would have got through all that.
Oh my gosh, we had
because
so much
no one else
support.
understood. Our family didn't really understand.
No.
Our sisters didn't understand.
They connected us with other adopted families who have gone through similar things or waited really long time.
And
maybe not.
And that's the other thing too you were dealing with. People were sharing opinions out of a place of love, but they don't understand.
They don't understand the
They don't
pain they
understand
were
the
causing.
dynamics of it. They don't understand what we're, legality of it and all these different kind of emotions. So we put a pause on it. You actually go get some
therapy.
help. Yeah,
I
you
need
go to
therapy.
therapy.
And I say, I need 6.
I think it's the first time I put my foot down, like, okay,
We need help.
I've gotten help for my stuff. It's time for you to get help for your stuff.
And I needed help because, like I said, we had just been investing in these teenagers, investing in others. I was pouring into everyone but myself. I still have a tendency to do that, but I'm well better equipped at like self-care now.
It was the first time in our marriage that I felt like I had to, I felt like, okay, I've got to lead well in this moment.
And you did. You stepped up extremely well. You loved me hard.
Well, what I'm saying is, I think in hindsight, just thinking of all this stuff, you had to carry so much in early on in our marriage. And so many different things. And here I am, a boy trying to learn to be a man to lead his family, or lead his wife.
Yeah.
And I think that's where kind of the intersect came, was at that, like we had to go through those adoptions because actually we were maturing through those adoptions.
Yeah, God was so in those. Oh my gosh. The waiting seemed endless, but there was so much victory in it. Like we learned so much about each other, ourselves, our strengths, but most importantly, that we could not do this without God.
Yeah.
So I go to therapy. Also, I'm still on this long ass cycle.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but it was like never ending, okay? I'm weak, I am tired, and I seek a Christian therapist. I'm in therapy. We say we need to commit to 6 weeks to this therapy. And we didn't really have the money for it, right?
No.
But we had to do this. I mean, we're already drained from the adoption. Like, it was a lot, y'all. I can't even begin to explain. I'm getting better every week because I'm really focusing on God. I am saying truths in the mirror to myself that my mom told me to say. She was like, repeat truths about yourself 7 times over out loud wherever you can go, because anxiety and fear were taking over my life. Anyways, after the end of 6 weeks, I'm feeling like myself again. I'm not afraid to go out in public. I'm not having heart palpitations anymore. I mean, y'all, I was even going to the ER thinking I was dying of heart attacks. It was that bad. Like, it was bad. And so we go to church one day. And I said, I think you said, I think you need to go to the healing room for your blood.
Yeah, so Antioch had a healing room.
Yes.
Where you could go in there and get specialized prayer.
Yeah. And I'm desperate at this point because I'm tired of bleeding. And I'm weak and I'm tired, but my faith is like really strong. And so I say, okay. So I go into the healing room and I get prayed over, and my arms are up in the air, surrendered to God. Ugh, I didn't think I'd get emotional about that. It's really cool though. My arms are up in the air and these women are just praying over me for my bleeding to stop and for God to make me whole. we're not praying over my infertility. We're literally just praying over my bleeding because we are so committed to adoption still. But my hands are in the air, and all of a sudden my entire body just starts shaking. I can uncontrollably, my hands are in the air. They're shaking, and then my knees go weak. Much in the same way that my knees were going weak during the excuse me, during the emails, or during the time that I knew that expectant mother was choosing to parent. I had got that same weakness, but this time there was a fire feeling in me, but it was super peaceful. It's very hard to explain. So I leave out of there and I'm just in tears. I'm like, I go to the bathroom and the bleeding has stopped.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that I just feel like hope. And like, okay, excuse my language on this, but I literally said, holy shit, I was healed. Because I just couldn't believe it. And it was just a very long time coming. Thank you, you're sweet. He's wiping my tears. It was just a long time coming. And I looked at Gerald and I said, I'm ready to open back up the process for adoption again. He was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah.
And we didn't though, because we talked with Kathy about reopening, and she said, let's give it, because then.
Y'all said that.
Yeah.
I said no.
Yeah.
I'm ready. And y'all were like, okay. Choosing that, I was going against their advice.
Yeah.
This was at the end of January, and we were about to we had to redo our home study again, and she didn't want to have to put me through that. You didn't want to have to go through it, but I said, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So we get it all done again, and we open back up in February, and 10 days later, on February 10th, we got the email about Zayden.
Yeah.
So it was very close. I was ready. I did the healing. I did the work. Yeah. God did the healing. I meant the healing of therapy, I didn't heal myself. God did the healing of the blood, right? Like, I stopped bleeding, finally. And I was like so adamant that I'm ready. And y'all were like, no, we're not going to. Yes, we are. I know. So.
And I think we were both just coming from a place like, we do not want to go put you through this again.
Of course, it was so loving. It was so intentional.
Because that's the thing about adoption too, and I've talked to a lot of men about this. It's just different for the adopted fathers versus the adopted mothers in the process. Adopted fathers just handle it differently.
Yeah.
Adopted mothers handle it very differently.
Yeah.
And so therefore, an adopted father is there usually just to support and make sure his wife is okay through this process, because they're already, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they're already dealing with, I'm infertile or I can't have children, therefore I'm depending on someone else to have children. Like, it's a whole complex
oh my gosh,
issue.
So complex. Because also, okay, I guess I'm just going to be emotional this entire podcast. But you have to realize that I am hoping for a mother to give me her child.
Yeah.
I'm praying for my greatest joy amongst her greatest pain.
Yeah. And most of the time in these situations, the birth father's not involved.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so it's like, adoption's beautiful, but it's also trauma and pain and loss for everyone involved. And so I was steadily praying for our child's mother. And let me tell you, the only child, by the way, in all those failed matches, only one of those children were of color. And he was biracial, but he actually ended up being born looking completely white, by the way. We still keep up with him. You can't even tell, right? So all these children, besides the little girl, she was Hispanic.
Yeah.
Were white.
Yeah.
I mean, one was biracial for sure. But anyways,
Yeah, we forgot to say that.
so none of those children, God had told us we were having children of color. And none of those were children of color, but we never really focused on it. We're like, okay, I guess this is who God has for us. So anyways, I go against Gerald and Kathy's better judgment. And Aaron. Aaron was also our caseworker, and they were like, okay. But I was like, please trust me on this. So like a couple weeks later, we get the
call, like, hey, this is kind, and again,
such a weird situation.
Kathy already said, look, we have something, it's kind of uncommon. It's another agency in Dallas. You're going to work with them, but we're going to be there with you.
Yeah,
this is not a common thing. And we're like, oh, good Lord. And she goes, do y'all want to take this on? But she said, I feel very strongly about this one. And
they prayed about it. They were like, God, they were like, your profiles match perfectly. But there's two weird things about it. We're like, oh, God, what?
Yeah.
You know, the first weird thing, they're not with our agency. They're in another agency in the Dallas area because they could not find any adoptive parents that they like. So they asked them to reach out to other agencies in Central Texas, and ours just so happened to be one of them. The next thing was she was adamant that a black family raised her child, and we were not black, but they felt
we were the only white family considered.
Yeah. So they were like, I know they're not black, but their profiles match perfectly other than that. So they submitted our profile. I think it was 2 days later.
Yeah.
We get a call, and they want to meet us. And we're like, what? And she's like, well, but they're also meeting another family, and we want to tell you the other family that they're meeting with is black. And so I'm like, I don't even know why we're going to this meeting because we are not going to be picked over this family, right? We go and they're meeting with the black family first, which was another. I was like,
we actually met them going out the door.
Yeah, it was crazy. So
super awesome family too. I mean, they were nice.
So I was like, oh, well, we ain't it, but whatever. We're here for a reason. And at this point, I'm healed. I'm happy. I'm joyful, and I'm just going in joyfully. We actually end up when we step off the elevator. Zayden's biological mother and grandmother are standing right there without the agency representative, remember? And so we all just kind of awkwardly meet in the waiting room, but we just start talking, and we are, like, hitting it off, like, majorly. Tiana's looking cute as all get out, pregnant, and Lisa's just, like, excited to meet us, and we actually go and start talking, and one of their first questions to us is, what did we think about open adoption?
Yeah.
And that's when we said, we are for open adoption, and we wanted it as open as you want it to be. We don't want to put stipulations on it because we believe that this is like a God-ordained thing, and we don't want to hinder anything. And they started crying, and we had much more deep conversation and stuff like that. And then the social worker took Tiana out of the room, or Tiana said, can I talk to you outside of this room? And the social worker was like, sure. And so Lisa stayed in there and talked with us, and they came back, and then Tiana chose us right there on the spot. And that is how we became parents.
Well, also, you got to say what Lisa said, too, that we were the only couple that didn't put Jeremiah 29:11.
Yeah. And the black couple was not open to an open adoption.
Yeah.
They wanted to actually adopt him and then take him out of state, move away.
Right.
And we didn't want that. And we were only an hour away from them. So they were like...
Still are.
Yeah. Still close. So... they were like, your profile, they were like, well, one of the reasons we picked you is because your profile was the only profile that didn't have the scripture Jeremiah 29:11 for, I know the plans we have for you. And she was like, that was so refreshing, because she was like, every single adoption profile has that scripture on there. And it was just like so annoying. And then they were talking about like, you know what, we thought we wanted a black family, but God knows better. And they asked us really hard questions.
They did.
About race and about what we thought, and we could answer them all because of the path that God had already lined with us. Even the people in the group had
Yeah.
really helped us. Like, not to answer the questions because they didn't know what questions would be. I'm talking about through personal experience.
They somewhat they discipled us.
Yes, in that moment.
As we were discipling them on Jesus, they were discipling us on a whole other, perspective of life.
Yeah, that we didn't even realize would come into play, and it totally did. So God was just like really doing amazing things throughout this whole, and it all made sense. So that meeting was February 10th. We were chosen February 10th, and Zayden was born March 19th of 2012. And we got to be there. We were there for the birth.
Yep.
And we still have an open adoption, still communicate, still...
It's changed a little bit, but it's because they've matured and he's matured and...
Yeah, and just life.
Life
going
changes.
on. I mean, she was 15 at the time, and so very young. We love them deeply. They've been there for us for really hard conversations that we've had to do with race, and those are other things that we'll get into on another time because our adoption story is not over yet at this point. We do adopt a daughter, and but during that process, when that checklist comes back of us being open to any race, we actually check no this time, and we are only open to a black child.
Yeah.
And we felt very strongly about that because we didn't want our son Zayden to be the only black child in our family.
We'll have to tell that one next time.
So we'll have to tell that, but and that's a really cool story too. But that is when we actually were specific about race because we needed our children to have racial mirrors, and so super important. But okay, that was a lot more emotional than I thought it was gonna be.
Why don't we? Especially when we're talking about loneliness in marriages and loneliness in, just kind of piggybacking off what our church has been going through or going through their scriptures. Let's just pray for people who are kind of fighting this battle of infertility and deciding whether to be parents and how to be parents and foster parents, whatever it is. And maybe we should pray for them just to find their community and just kind of in that moment.
Okay.
And I think you're the best person to pray for that, obviously.
Okay.
And then I'll close out.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we just thank you immensely that you go before us and that you care so deeply about every single need that we have. And I just thank you for the listeners out there that you're having listen today that might be going through a similar situation where they're just feeling defeated or broken, or like their body doesn't work, because infertility is trauma and it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry. And I pray, Lord, that our story brings hope, because you are hope, Lord, and you always go before us. There isn't anything that you don't know. There isn't anything that isn't perfectly your will. And I just pray that there's so much victory in the waiting out there, because there was so much victory in our waiting. It took us 9 years to become parents, and we had a lot of mishaps during that time in the waiting, a lot of no's, a lot of yeses that turned into no's. But it makes so much sense now, because the 2 children that you have for us were perfectly meant to be ours, and now that we look back, they just weren't ready yet. And so I just thank you that your will and your plan is so much better than we could even fathom, because you are the knower of all things, and we are so grateful. So I ask that any mother, father, or expectant mother and father, or hopeful mother and father listening to this that is going through infertility, or a season of waiting, or a season of not understanding, that you give them clarity, hope, knowledge, wisdom, vision, and hope. And I just thank you, God, for what you're doing in them and through them and for them, because we know that you have an incredible, perfect plan for them. And I thank you in advance for everything that you're doing. And I just ask that you give them wisdom in the waiting. And I ask, Lord, that they worship you while they're waiting, because there is no time in the waiting that is wasted, Lord. And I just thank you, God, for what you're doing. We love you and we praise you.
And God, we are so thankful for these stories you allow us to share, Lord. I pray for the fathers that are and the men supporting their wives and supporting the situations. Lord, I pray that they find patience and kindness and that they fight through their pride and selfishness, Lord, through these moments that are so intimate, Lord, that are so important in our relationships, in our marriage, Lord. Becoming parents is one of the biggest things we can do as a married couple. And I pray for the men and women out there, Lord, who are fighting silent battles right now, that maybe don't have a community around them, maybe live in a small town or live in an area where they just don't feel comfortable sharing about their infertility or even the stuff we've been talking about with pornography or anything like that that just affects the marriage, Lord. I pray that they find community. I pray that they reach out. I pray that there is just community built around them, Lord. We thank you, God. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Well.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to I Still Do. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We'd also love to hear from you, so if you have any questions or even a story you'd like to share with us to get our advice on, please feel free to send us an email at geraldandtabby@istilldopodcast.com. Until next time, keep choosing love and each other, because we still do.